Welcome back to the Money Pit Home Improvement Radio Show. I'm Tom Kreitler.
And I'm Leslie Segretti.
The number is 1-888-MONEY-PIT, 888-666-3974. You know, so many things in our world are disposable. They're made to be thrown away as soon as we think they're no longer usable. But there are craftsmen out there whose trade is based completely on the concept of using salvaged materials.
And Steven Staples is part of a growing industry that gives you more alternatives about the furniture that you can buy. In fact, his green furniture is part of a growing trend to be more environmentally responsible. And we're so glad that you are, and we're glad that you're joining us now. Welcome, Stephen.
Well, thank you. It's fun to be here.
So, Steve, when you talk about green furniture, I mean, you would think that everything in furniture is green today, but where do manufacturers become very ungreen? Where do they start using materials that are very processed and harmful for the environment? Isn't everything made of wood okay to use?
No, not at all. In fact, the United States has a $79 billion furniture industry alone. Lately, within the last 8 years, China has consumed one-third of the world's furniture market, and you want to be sure that the wood is sustainable, that it'll come back and grow, and that you're not depleting the rainforest, which is disappearing at, an acre a second now? It's just a horrible situation that we're finally waking up to.
Well, the idea of reclaimed lumber, how do you know that you're getting clean pieces of lumber and lumber that doesn't have any rot or insect issues? Where do you even go to start thinking about reclaiming wood for furniture usage?
There are a lot of different groups that are coming forth informing that actually certify whether lumber is antique or reclaimed on furnishings that you wouldn't know it by looking at it. Sometimes they take big beams and cut them up, and it looks brand new. But it's old. It's 100 years old, but once you cut it, it's beautiful inside and clean, and you wouldn't know it as reclaimed. A lot of the times we take stuff, we'll take a floor out of an attic, clean it down, wash it, and then I have a 16-foot oven that we put it into. We bring it up to 135 degrees for 30 minutes, and that kills every bug in the piece of wood, all the powder post beetles, every egg that's in it. Eggs last up to 2 years.
Huh.
So it's something I've wanted for a long time, and we built it all by hand, just like everything else we do, and it's quite a thing. I don't know of too many other people in this industry that do it, that have an oven.
But does that preservation processing, if you will, does that affect the integrity of the lumber in any way? Does it make it weaker, stronger?
No, it doesn't hurt it at all. It really doesn't. I can't think of anything it would do. They kiln dry lumber also, which is a system where they add moisture, take away moisture, and they try to do it evenly to dry the wood so it won't check. If you do that wrong, you can do what they call case harden the wood, where the wood gets very hard on the outside. And we've had that in our shop from other places where you couldn't even push a hand plane on it unless you wet it to give it some lubrication.
We're talking to Steven Staples. He's a cabinet maker, one of the best in the country, and you've got a new joint venture going with a group called Timeless Timber that actually works to recover lumber. Where do you guys get the lumber mostly? Now, I mentioned we talked about barns and places like that, but are there other sources for recovered lumber?
Yes, I love where they're getting it. They're getting it from the rivers, the bottom of the rivers.
You would think that lumber that's in the bottom of the rivers is going to be soft and decayed.
Well, these are rivers that are cold and just cold and running, and it just doesn't decay. I don't know why.
Oh, so this is like full logs from like the timbering logging business.
Yes, they call them sinkers. And when they had the big logging runs down the rivers, some logs would have others on top of it, and they'd eventually sink. I mean, they're wet. Normally it'll take in a kiln about a week to dry lumber. These take 40 to 50 days to dry the same lumber. They have to do it so slowly. It's the beginning of petrified wood, if you will. If you give it another 50 million years, it would be petrified wood because it's starting to absorb minerals from the water. It's starting to color. It's been under there for 125 years, and it was 250 years old when it was cut down.
Steve, if consumers are concerned about whether or not the lumber that it's being used in their furniture is recycled or is it coming from a green source, are there things specifically they can check? I mean, if you're walking into a furniture store, for example, is there a way that you can know whether or not your lumber is coming from an environmentally responsible organization?
I think at this point where this is fairly new and people are very excited about it, they're tooting the horn, and it'll be written on any tag that's on there. If it doesn't say it, it's not.
And if you have to put it together, chances are it's not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
True. If it comes in a box, yeah.
Do you ever find in the recovered and the recycled lumber that you use, do you ever find any surprises?
Yeah.
You ever cut into something and find something you didn't expect?
We found a bullet yesterday.
Interesting.
Luckily, they're lead.
Yeah.
But we find Civil War bullets.
Interesting.
We find shotguns that have been shot against walls. We find graffiti is fun sometimes that you find on walls. We take wallpaper off a wall, and the impression of, say, a snowflake wallpaper is still in the wood.
Do you ever utilize any of those details or any of those almost defects, but they're interesting? Do you ever showcase them in furnishings?
We try to just bring forth the defect, like the snowflakes, which we just made a gorgeous table out of it. If a stairway is running up into an attic, you can actually see it on the side of the boards that were there, and we run them right across the table, and you can see a stairway. And, of course, it's nothing like today's stairway. They're steep, they're short, and people love it. You can actually make almost a Navajo design. If you bring one down each side, you can really make all kinds of designs out of the stairways that were once running up the boards. If we have cracks in the top of something, rather than just fill it in, we'll fill it in with another reclaimed material like black walnut that'll be a very dark line. So I won't try to hide it. I try
So you
to
make a feature of it.
Yeah, I feature it. I bring it
Yeah,
forth.
in the years I was in construction, I used to build stairs and railings with very expensive curved wood and things like that. And we always used to say if we made a mistake, we made it look so good that people thought it was supposed to be that way.
There you go. That's my favorite quote is, the problem with doing good work is nobody ever sees it.
Really, that sounds wonderful. It's almost as if, we've lost the artistry of inlaid workmanship and carved and turned pieces of wood by hand. And this is sort of, the next generation of that master artistry. So well done.
We're trying to keep it alive. In fact, I turn every leg on any piece of furniture we do, I turn by hand myself, all without calipers. I do it all by eye, so that it will be off enough, so it looks like it was done 200 years ago.
Well, you're just about as rare as the lumber you work with, Steve.
Yeah, I know. I feel that way sometimes, too. But
Stephen Staples, thanks for joining us. You can learn more about Steve's work and how to find recycled lumber that can be used for your own home improvement projects at Steve's website. That's www.staplescabinetmakers.com.